I bought a used camera online for $120, and when I turned it on, there was one photo left on the memory card. A sunset through a window, golden light spilling over colorful plates on a table, and in the corner of the frame, barely visible, was a sign with an address. I stared at that photo for a long time, trying to understand why someone would sell a camera with a picture still on it. I went to that address out of curiosity, expecting nothing. When I walked in, the owner, an older man with kind eyes, looked at me and smiled. "You finally made it," he said, as if he'd been waiting for me all along. Before we dive in, have you ever felt like you were just going through the motions of life? Drop your answer in the comments below. And if you love stories about finding purpose, unexpected mentors, and rediscovering passion through curiosity, please subscribe so you don't miss our next one. Now, let me take you back to the day I bought a camera that changed everything. I was living on autopilot. I worked as a line cook at a chain restaurant in Baltimore, one of those corporate places with laminated menus and recipes engineered in a test kitchen, somewhere in Texas. Every night, I cooked the same dishes in the same order: Southwestern egg rolls, loaded potato skins, barbecue chicken pasta, molten chocolate cake. 200 plates a night, every plate identical to the last, every shift bleeding into the next. I'd been there for 8 years. It was supposed to be temporary, a job to pay bills while I figured out what I really wanted to do. But 8 years had passed and I still hadn't figured it out. I just kept showing up, cooking food I didn't care about, going home to an apartment I barely decorated, and repeating the cycle. I didn't cook at home anymore. That was the strangest part. I was a cook who didn't cook for himself. I'd come home after a 10-hour shift smelling like fryer oil and eat cereal or takeout, too tired and too disconnected to even consider making a real meal. My life had become a series of motions. Wake up, work, sleep, repeat. I wasn't unhappy exactly. I just wasn't anything. I was numb. On a Tuesday in March, my best friend Joe stopped by to give me his wedding invitation. I knew Joe was going to marry. I helped him figure out the proposal. I was happy for him. But suddenly I felt left behind in life. I didn't have a girlfriend. My last relationship had ended 6 months ago because she realized she didn't have to accept my grumpiness. I didn't have a real career. I had a job. It was stable. But I wouldn't say it was the career I had dreamed of when I went to culinary school. And in that moment, I acknowledged how empty my life felt. So I decided I needed a hobby. Something. Anything. A way to feel like I existed outside of that kitchen. I'd always thought photography looked interesting, the way people could capture moments, freeze beauty, tell stories through images. I knew nothing about it, but that was the point. Maybe learning something new would make me feel alive again. I found a used Canon DSLR on eBay for $120. The listing said it was in good condition, barely used, and came with a basic lens. The seller had good reviews. I bought it without overthinking, which wasn't like me. I usually overthought everything. The camera arrived 5 days later. I opened the box in my kitchen, pulled out the camera body, attached the lens, and turned it on. The screen lit up, and immediately an image appeared. Someone had left a photo on the memory card. It showed a sunset, rich orange and gold light streaming through a window, illuminating a table set with colorful dishes. I could see rice, some kind of stew, bright green and yellow vegetables, everything arranged beautifully. In the background, slightly out of focus, was a chalkboard sign hanging on a wall. I zoomed in on the image, trying to make out the writing. It was an address, 847 Eastern Avenue, Baltimore. That was here, in my city, maybe 15 minutes from my apartment. I wanted to start using the camera, but I couldn't just delete the photo. Something about the image held me. The way the light fell, the warmth of it, the sense that whoever had taken this photo had been capturing something they loved. Who sells a camera with a photo still on it? Especially a photo this deliberate, this beautiful? I saved the image to my cloud, and then, on impulse I didn't fully understand, I Googled the address. It was a restaurant. Sabor da Terra. The name was Portuguese, I thought. The Google listing showed a small place, just a handful of reviews, all glowing, all talking about authentic Brazilian food and a warm, welcoming atmosphere. I'd lived in Baltimore for 10 years and had never heard of it. That Saturday, I decided to go. Not for any profound reason, just curiosity. Just something to do on a day off that didn't involve sitting alone in my apartment wondering why I felt so hollow. I drove to Eastern Avenue in the early evening, the camera hanging around my neck, even though I had no intention of using it yet. I didn't know how. I just liked the weight of it. The sense that I was someone who did something other than cook identical pasta dishes every night. Sabor da Terra was tucked into a small storefront between a laundromat and a flower shop. The exterior was painted a warm terracotta color, with a hand-painted sign above the door and plants in the windows. Through the glass, I could see maybe 8 tables, half of them occupied, everything glowing with the same golden light I'd seen in the photo. I pushed open the door. The smell hit me immediately, rich, layered, completely different from the standardized scents of my corporate kitchen. Garlic and lime and something earthy I couldn't identify. Spices I didn't recognize. It smelled like someone's home. Behind a small counter near the kitchen stood a man in his mid-60s with silver hair, warm brown skin, and an expression of such calm presence that I immediately felt both welcome and seen in a way I hadn't felt in years. He looked at me. Then his eyes dropped to the camera around my neck. His face changed, not with surprise, but with something like recognition, like he'd been expecting this. "You finally made it," he said. I stopped. "What?" he smiled. "The camera. That's Maria's camera. Maria, my wife. She was the one who took that photo you found of this place. I've been wondering when whoever bought it would come." I didn't know what to say. "How did you know I'd come?" "Because Maria left that photo on purpose. She always said the right person would see it and be curious enough to find their way here. And here you are." He came around the counter and extended his hand. "I'm Julius York. Welcome to Sabor da Terra. Eric Raine." I shook his hand, completely disoriented. "I don't understand. Your wife left the photo on purpose?" "Why? Sit down. Let me make you a plate. We'll talk." Before I could protest, Julius had guided me to a table by the window, the exact table from the photo, I realized. The light was different now, evening instead of sunset, but it was the same angle, the same view. Julius disappeared into the kitchen. I sat there with the camera in my lap, trying to process what was happening. This man had sold a camera with a photo still on it, intentionally, hoping someone would come to his restaurant. Julius returned 10 minutes later with a plate that looked nothing like the food I cooked at work. Rice and beans, both somehow more vibrant than any rice and beans I'd ever seen. A rich stew with chunks of beef, tomatoes, peppers, collard greens cooked with garlic. A small dish of what looked like salsa but smelled completely different, vinegary and bright, and a piece of something golden and puffy that I didn't recognize at all. "Feijoada, the day's special," Julia said, gesturing to the stew. "Couve," pointing to the greens. "Vinaigrette, and pão de queijo, cheese bread, from Minas Gerais, where Maria was from." This was her food, her recipes. Eat. I was overwhelmed by all of that, but my mouth was watering from the smell of food. I couldn't resist. I picked up my fork and tried the stew. The flavors hit me in waves, rich, smoky, complex, in a way I hadn't tasted in years of cooking pre-portioned, pre-seasoned food. I looked up at Julius. "This is incredible." Maria would be happy to hear that. She believed food was love made visible, that every dish should be made like you're cooking for someone you care about. She sounds like she's an amazing cook. She was. But more than that, she was curious about everything. Food, people, art, the way light falls on a table at sunset. That's what the camera was for, capturing the beauty she saw everywhere. She believed most people moved through the world half asleep, and her job was to wake them up, to show them what they were missing. At that moment, I seemed to have forgotten all the education my mother had given me. I devoured the dish, wanting to experience all the flavors which seemed to be different with every bite. Try to eat more slowly. Let your tongue process the flavor, Julius told me gently. I ate slower, and he sat down across from me without asking. The restaurant wasn't busy yet, just a couple at another table, eating quietly, and an older woman at the counter reading a newspaper. "Why did you sell the camera?" I asked. Julius was quiet for a moment. Maria died 2 years ago, breast cancer. For a long time after, I couldn't look at her things without feeling like I was drowning. But I also couldn't get rid of them. That camera sat in a drawer for 1.5 years. Then one day, I realized Maria wouldn't have wanted it locked away. She used that camera to see the world, to find beauty in ordinary things. She would have wanted it to keep doing that, to help someone else see. So you sold it, with that one photo still on it. The photo she took of this place the day we opened it, 25 years ago. I thought, if someone buys this camera and sees that photo and is curious enough to come find this restaurant, then they're the right person to have it. They're someone who needs what Maria used to give people. What did she give people? A reminder to stop and really look at their lives instead of just going through the motions. The words hit me harder than they should have. Going through the motions. That's exactly what I'd been doing. How did you know I needed that? I asked. Julius looked at me with those calm, knowing eyes. Because you came? Because you saw a photo, and instead of deleting it, you hunted down the address. Because you're wearing a camera you probably don't even know how to use yet, hoping it will help you feel something. That tells me everything I need to know. I should have felt exposed, maybe defensive. Instead, I just felt seen, accurately seen, in a way that was uncomfortable, but also a relief. I don't know how to use it, I admitted. I bought it because I felt empty. Like I needed something, anything, to make me feel like I'm more than just my job. What's your job? I'm a cook at a chain restaurant. Do you love cooking? The question was so direct, so simple, and I couldn't answer it quickly. I used to, or I thought I did, but I don't cook anything meaningful. Just the same corporate recipes every night, exactly the same way. I don't even cook at home anymore. I don't remember the last time I made something because I wanted to, because I was curious about how it would taste. Julius nodded. Then you stopped cooking with presents. You're just performing motions. That's not cooking. That's assembly. I don't know how to get back to actually caring. You start by being present, by paying attention, by approaching things with curiosity instead of obligation. Maria used to say, curiosity is the antidote to numbness. When you're curious, you're alive. Over the next hour, Julius told me about Maria, how she'd immigrated from Brazil at 25 with almost nothing, how she'd worked 3 jobs while learning English, how she and Julius had met at a community center where she was teaching a cooking class, and he was taking a pottery class in the same building. She was the most alive person I ever met, Julius said. Every day was an adventure for her. She'd try new foods, explore new neighborhoods, talk to strangers, find beauty in cracked sidewalks and rusty fire escapes. She saw the world like it was constantly offering her gifts, and all she had to do was pay attention. And the camera was her way of remembering to look. She'd take maybe 5 photos a day, not hundreds like people do now. Just 5, each one intentional. Each one capturing something that made her pause. Light through leaves. An old man feeding pigeons. Patterns in architecture. She said, if you're really looking, 5 photos is more than enough. When I finally left, Julius walked me to the door. Come back, he said, whenever you want. Maria would have wanted someone to have her camera who actually uses it. So use it, be curious, see what happens. I went back the following weekend, and then again the next. And then it became a regular thing, stopping by Sabor da Terra, eating whatever Julius made that day, talking about Maria, about cooking, about paying attention to life. Julius started asking me questions. What are you curious about? What makes you stop and look? At first I didn't have answers. I couldn't remember the last time I'd been curious about anything. Then start small, Julius said. Find one thing this week that makes you curious, just one. Follow that curiosity and see where it leads. I started noticing things. The way different restaurants in Baltimore smelled when I walked past them. The conversations in languages I didn't understand. The way food connected people to their histories, their homes, their identities. One afternoon, I walked into an Ethiopian restaurant I'd passed 100 times but never entered. I ordered something whose name I couldn't pronounce. And when it arrived, a platter of colorful stews on spongy injera bread, meant to be eaten with your hands, I felt genuine excitement. I took out Maria's camera. I didn't know much about photography yet, but I knew enough to capture the colors, the arrangement, the steam rising from the stews. Then I went home and tried to cook it myself. I researched recipes. I bought spices I'd never used. I made a mess in my kitchen. The result was mediocre at best, but I didn't care. For the first time in 8 years, I was cooking because I wanted to, because I was curious, because I cared about the outcome. I took a photo of my imperfect attempt. Then I wrote about it. The restaurant, the experience of trying something completely new, the process of attempting to recreate it. I posted it on a simple blog I'd started on a whim, thinking no one would read it. But I didn't care if anyone read it. I was doing it for myself, to document my own curiosity, to have proof that I was paying attention to my life instead of sleepwalking through it. Over the next 6 months, I fell into a rhythm. Every weekend I'd explore a different restaurant: Mexican, Vietnamese, Lebanese, Korean, Polish. I'd talk to the owners when I could, learn about their food, their stories. I'd take photos with Maria's camera. Then I'd go home and try to cook what I'd tasted, documenting the process, the failures, the small successes. My blog, which I'd called Eating Curious, started attracting readers. Not huge numbers, but real people who connected with what I was doing. They liked that I made mistakes, that I approached food with genuine curiosity instead of pretense. A local food website asked if they could republish some of my posts. Then a kitchen supply company reached out asking if I'd be interested in a small sponsorship. Nothing huge, but enough to buy better ingredients, to maybe upgrade some equipment. After a year, I had enough sponsorships and a small Patreon following that I could actually imagine doing this full time. Not getting rich, but making enough to live simply while pursuing the thing that had finally made me feel alive again. The decision to quit my restaurant job was terrifying. I'd been there 8 years. I had predictable paychecks, health insurance, the safety of routine, even if that routine was killing me slowly. I went to Sabor da Terra to talk to Julius about it. I got an opportunity, I told him, to do the blog full-time. There's enough sponsorship money to cover rent and basic expenses, if I'm careful. But it means leaving my job, leaving security. Everything I've built. What would Maria say? Julius asked. I didn't know Maria, but you have her camera. You've been looking through her lens for over a year now. What has she taught you? I thought about it. About the year of curiosity and exploration and finally feeling present in my own life. She taught me that security isn't the same as living, that safety can be another form of sleepwalking. Then you already know what to do. I gave my notice the next day. 2 weeks later, I walked out of that corporate kitchen for the last time, and I didn't feel scared. I felt free. The blog grew steadily, not into something massive, but into something sustainable. I partnered with local restaurants, highlighting regional cuisines that deserved more attention. I taught myself more about photography, more about writing, more about the intersection of food and culture and story. But more than any of that, I learned to be present, to approach each day with curiosity instead of obligation, to see my life as something to participate in rather than something to get through. A year and a half after I'd bought Maria's camera, I visited Sabor da Terra on a quiet Tuesday afternoon. Julius was behind the counter as always, and when I walked in, he smiled the same warm smile he'd given me the first day. You look different, he said, lighter. I feel different, present, like I'm actually living my life instead of watching it happen to someone else. I'm proud of you. I pulled out Maria's camera. I'd since bought a newer, more advanced camera for professional work, but I still carried Maria's everywhere. I want you to know that I take care of this, that it's in good hands. I know it is. I knew it the moment you walked in here with it around your neck. You responded to her call. That's all she ever wanted, for someone to respond, to be curious, to wake up. Thank you, Julius, for everything, for keeping this place going, for talking to me, for carrying on what Maria started. You're carrying it on too. Every restaurant you visit, every dish you try to recreate, every story you tell, you're honoring her. You're reminding people to pay attention, to see the beauty and the connection available to them if they just stop and look. We sat together for a while, drinking coffee Julius had made, not needing to fill the silence with conversation. Through the window, The afternoon light fell across the tables just like it had in Maria's photo, golden and warm and inviting. "Can I ask you something?" I said eventually. "Do you ever regret selling the camera? Letting go of something so connected to her?" Julius shook his head. "Maria wasn't in the camera. She was in how she saw the world. And that doesn't die. It gets passed on, person to person, like you're passing it on now through your blog. The camera was just a tool. But what you do with it, that's her real legacy. And it's yours now, too." Joe's wedding was coming up, and he asked me to cook the famous feijoada, one of my blog's most popular articles, and one his fiancée was dying to try. Julius and I cooked for 20 people at the wedding rehearsal lunch. Seeing the expressions of discovery and fascination on everyone's faces warmed my heart. I still visit Sabor da Terra every week. Julius and I have become friends, the kind of friendship that transcends age and background because it's built on mutual understanding and shared loss and the commitment to living with intention. I still use Maria's camera because it reminds me why I take photos in the first place. Not to capture the perfect image, but to remember to look, to be present, to approach the world with curiosity and wonder. I still cook. But now I cook because I want to, because each dish is an exploration rather than a repetition. And I still write about it. About the restaurants I discover, the people I meet, the cultures I'm learning about one dish at a time. My blog may not make me rich, but it gives me something better. A reason to wake up excited about the day ahead. A reason to pay attention to the world around me. A reason to be present in my own life. Sometimes I think about the version of myself who bought that camera on a Tuesday because he felt empty and desperate for anything that might make him feel alive. I think about how he almost deleted that photo without investigating. How close he came to missing everything that came after. But he was curious enough to follow it to a small Brazilian restaurant in Baltimore. And that curiosity changed everything. Maria York died before I could meet her, but she taught me the most important lesson I've ever learned, that life is happening right now, in this moment, and the only thing standing between us and actually experiencing it is our willingness to pay attention, to be curious, to wake up. I bought a camera for $120 because I felt like I was sleepwalking through life. The camera came with a photo that led me to a restaurant, that led me to a mentor who taught me that curiosity is the antidote to numbness. And now, every day, I practice what Maria and Julius believed, that the world is full of beauty and connection and meaning, and all we have to do is stop long enough to see it. Have you ever felt like you were just going through the motions of life? Share your story in the comments below. If this story about finding purpose, unexpected mentors, and rediscovering passion through curiosity touched your heart, please hit that like button and subscribe for more meaningful stories every day. Don't forget to click the notification bell so you never miss our next inspiring tale. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.